Hello and welcome back to another episode of Purpose Through Fitness, a community designed to encourage you to live a more positive, happy, and healthy lifestyle. We are going to uncover secrets of the body, the mind, and the spirit to help put you in the best position possible to live a more purposeful life. I'm super excited to be bringing today's episode with you, in which we are going to be talking about keeping an open mind. It is very important to keep an open mind in anything that you do in life, whether it's a new relationship, a new hobby, a new job, whatever it is that you may be tackling, something that you fear. Keeping a complete and open mind is absolutely imperative to your success. Really excited to bring this episode to you today and cannot wait to share some of my own personal journey and how keeping an open mind has led me to an exponential growth of the self in service to others. Welcome, and let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 16 of the Purpose Through Fitness podcast. Today's episode, I'm going to keep relatively short, but we're going to be packing a lot of information in here, and something that I think is very important to not only progression of the self, but in anything that you do in life. And that, as you heard in the intro, is keeping an open mind. How many times have you tried something new, or you might have heard a story from somebody on the internet, achieving a new physical task or doing some kind of what you may deem a weird technique and getting a lot of benefits from it, and your mind immediately jumps to the thought of, well, that's just strange. There's no way that works. There's no way I could do that. There's no way that works. And you're immediately closing off your mind. When you close off your mind, you already know the end result. If you go into something thinking you can't, you already know you're not going to be able to. If you have a closed mind and judgments or fear, it's going to lead you to a negative result. So I want to encourage each and every one of you to try and keep a complete and open mind. Now, I want to explain how this has applied in my life and how my first initial experience with keeping a complete and open mind has now opened the floodgates for me to try anything, whether it be a new food, a new hobby, a new physical activity, an event, whatever it may be. I now am not afraid to try new things. And more importantly, when I try new things, I have no preconceived notions or judgments entering into it. I go in with a complete open and clear mind that allows me to get the full benefit and see what's actually going to happen. So I want to kick this off with a funny little story. Ever since I was a kid, there was one thing I was terrified more than anything else, and that was heights. The two big ones for me were heights and spiders. And when I say I was scared of heights, it wasn't I was scared flying on an airplane. It was go more than 2 or 3 rungs up a ladder and my body would start to shake. I would start to tighten up. I would have this feeling of almost like hyperventilating, and I just didn't like that feeling. And this carried with me throughout my entire life. I mean, if I was driving and I was driving over a bridge, I couldn't look over the side. I had to keep laser focused on the center, because if I veered off, I started to, again, tighten up and almost feel like, oh no, I'm going to swerve and end up driving off this bridge. And this was for everything. Even if we were walking over a little hill, I couldn't look over the edge. I couldn't go up on ladders, like I said, more than maybe 2 or 3 rungs without really starting to feel this. I was on the swim team for a little while, and even on the diving board, even the standard diving board that the divers would use, I could go off of, but I couldn't jump up high like a lot of other people did to jump in the water. I had to do just a regular jump off of that, and going up to a 10-foot high board or anything like that, that was just completely out of the question. So it was approximately 2 years ago now, well, 2.5 years ago now, I made the decision that I wanted to try and attack this. I said, you know what? I've heard experiences from other people where they have done something drastic towards tackling their fear, and it's helped them. It's helped cure them. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to try and go skydiving. And the entire time leading up to it, I went with a friend of mine. The entire time leading up to it was probably the same emotions and thoughts that goes through everyone's head. Like, am I really going to do this? Why am I doing this? This is crazy. I know I'm going to hate it, blah, blah, blah. But I focused on probably about a week before. I just said, you know what? Do it. Simple enough, just like the Nike slogan says, just do it. I said, you know what? You're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to do it, and you're going to enjoy it. And that whole week up, I just kept repeating that. You're going to do it, and you're going to enjoy it. So we drive to the little airport where we're going to be doing the skydiving. And I find it very fitting now that my first time skydiving is the location that I chose. I chose this one because the price seemed to be the absolute best. Showing up to the airport, it was a bunch of guys just hanging out, a little prop plane, just enough for 2, maybe 3 people to even fit in the plane. And it was like your dazed and confused group of people sitting around like, hey, all right, we're ready to do a skydive. And I'm thinking in my head, of course this would be fitting for me that I'm choosing this place of all places to do my first skydive. It didn't have a very professional feel to it, but again, I said, you know what? I'm going to keep this open mind, and I'm going to get this done. So, you start to go over some training. They have you watch this video, and I think the looking back at it, the video is probably the most nerve-wracking part. It's the part where they tell you, just to let you know, skydiving is a lot of fun, but you might die. You're going to have a blast, but you might die. Hey, a lot of things are great, but things can go wrong. You might die. And it really puts it in your head like, man, am I really going to do this? I mean, he's basically telling me right now, like, you could have fun, but you also could die. Which, ironically enough, if we think about anything in life, it can happen that way. You could be walking down the street and something happens and you end up leaving this world. There's a lot of things in life that we need to confront and do because we might enjoy it rather than thinking about the negatives that most likely will never happen. So they get us ready. Me and my friend, we head up in the plane. Of course, we're strapped to 2 other people because you can't go skydiving by yourself on the first one. That would just be silly. And we're flying all the way up, and the entire time, they're saying some things and talking and chit-chatting, and I just have this laser zone-like focus out the window. I'm just looking at the clouds, or the sky, I should say. That day, there was virtually no clouds in the sky. It was about as beautiful a day as you could possibly imagine, and they even said, conditions are absolutely perfect, so we're going to be able to jump at an altitude of 15,000 feet, which was great because a lot of times weather depending, it might be, 10,000, 12,000, but 15 was the highest that they go. And that's where we jumped from, which allowed you to have almost a minute to minute and a half of free fall experience. So we get up there and they open the door. And as soon as they open the door, that's when I nearly crapped myself. I started saying, okay, this is real. This is going to happen. And my friend that I went with, she jumped out first. So I watched her go out and just instantly disappear. And I was like, oh boy, this is really getting real. But again, I kept in my head, I was like, do this. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. So we get to a point, crawl out to the edge of the door. I've got my feet sitting on the little step right outside the door, wind blowing. I'm looking down, seeing just a world of a perspective I've never seen before. Now, I've flown in a plane before, but when you're sitting on the ledge of a plane, it's a little bit different than when you're in the comfort of a plane looking out a tiny window. And the guy that I jumped with, he just goes, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And I just reacted instantly because I knew if I gave myself a moment, I would say thumbs down, put me back in the plane and go. And I just gave him the thumbs up. And the next thing I know, he pushes us out and we're falling. Now, anybody who's ever been on a roller coaster before knows that when you have that initial drop, you get that almost nauseating feeling in the stomach, that kind of queasy, and your stomach is way up in your throat. And that's fully what I expected with skydiving. But after about a half a second, I realized that that feeling actually isn't there. And I think a lot of that has to do with when you're on a roller coaster, you're strapped into something. So as you're free falling, you've got the harness, the seat, whatever it is that you're in that's pulling you back, but your body naturally is trying to go away from that. So that's what's causing your insides to elevate. And it took maybe a second and a half of me going, holy crap, to this is insane. I felt like I was flying. It was a rush I had never experienced in my entire life before. And I've never really been much of a daredevil or a thrill seeker or anything like that. But I instantly had this feeling of almost being superhero-like. You're just this insane rush, the wind blowing in your face, you're moving at the ground at an incredible speed, and there's just this blissful experience of, it's tough to explain. Anybody who's gone skydiving, I believe you've experienced this as well, but you have this insane feeling that you're connected with things around you. This insane feeling, adrenaline, this rush that just almost complete you as a person. It was such an insane experience. So we were free falling for about a minute and a half, and then he pulls the parachute. You pull the parachute, you feel that tugging up. That's when you get a little bit of the nausea feeling like you would on a roller coaster. But then all of a sudden, within a couple seconds, things just slow down, and there you are, sitting thousands of feet above the earth, just calmly and slowly dropping, looking at the earth and what's around you in a complete different perspective than you've ever seen or felt before. Now, where I was jumping was down in Lake Okeechobee here in Florida, so you could see the entire lake. You could see the farmland that was below you that was sectioned off in these perfect quadrants. Everything almost seemed like it was measured out perfectly. You know, you could see shapes of land and things that you can't see on the ground level. I mean, you go by, you can see trees close up and things like that, but you don't really get to see that perspective of the earth that often. And it was probably about, I don't know, maybe 5 to 8 minutes that we were free falling until we landed. And there was so many thoughts going through my head of understanding. So many thoughts of, man, I just did something that was one of the craziest experiences that I just went through. And like I said, after you get done free falling and jumping out the plane and all that, you have this slow glide to the ground where you can just think about things. And the things that I was thinking about wasn't daily stresses. They weren't what's going on in my life. All that stuff just seemed to go by the wayside. It was just a humble, peaceful thought that came into my head. And it gave me a point of view of, if this is all that it took, if just forcing myself to do this and realizing that 1 second after being pushed out of a plane, I'm experiencing the most amazing thing I've ever experienced in my life, what else have I been missing? How many times have I refused to try a new food because I just didn't think it would taste well, that it might have been the best food I've ever had? How many times have I decided not to do something because I didn't think I was going to like it, yet it may have been the best thing I'd ever do? And this is what really started to catapult me on a drive of understanding and learning more. This is what's given me an open mind when I ran a marathon in December, when I run other events. This is what gave me an open mind when trying things like box breathing or the Wim Hof breathing techniques. It's given me an open mind trying cold therapy, taking cold showers, being immersed in the cold, which is another thing I hated for so long, and I can proudly say I don't hate the cold anymore. It's given me an open mind to try new foods, to talk to new people, to be open and understand that everything we do, there's something you can learn from. See, it's interesting to me how I used to be someone who had to be a know-it-all. And when I say had to be a know-it-all, I want to be the first to answer. I wanted to, if somebody had a question, I wanted to be the one to answer it. And I had this sense of, I know more than the people around me. And since beginning a journey of learning, education, self-empowerment in the service of others, since reaching a point where I know my progress is a lifelong journey and it's never going to stop, but I love the process of learning more, other people's point of views, other people's opinions, education, whatever it may be, the more that I've learned, the more I realize I don't know anything. And even the smartest people in the world, the most intellectual people in the world, they don't know much of anything either. They know only a fraction of what's out there. But that's the best part. That's why it should be such a thrill to improve yourself. Not to work a job and then get home and be miserable, waste your life away watching Netflix. Again, I don't want to insult anyone who does that. If that brings you happiness and joy, by all means do it. But to me, I've uncovered a deeper meaning, understanding, and significance to the life at hand, and those things just do not attract me anymore. I want to read more books. I want to understand more material. I want to attend events where I'm going to grow. I want to train my body and my mind more to really uncover more of the meaning and understanding behind life itself. And keeping an open mind is imperative to any of this success. As I said, in my journey as I've gone along, especially when I got in the world of fitness, it became let me back that up. When I first started into fitness just to be healthier, it was a typical workout routine, go do your major lifts, your bench, your squats, deadlifts, curls, and then doing your cardio, running, biking, swimming. To me, that's what fitness was when I started. And I would look at people, stretching or doing yoga, and I was like, oh, that's just for weird people. You don't really need to do any of that. And I looked at people who were doing meditation, visualization, things like Tai Chi, Qigong, and I was like, okay, there's really nothing to that. But again, after skydiving, it allowed me to have that open mind. I started removing these judgments and saying, that's just for this person or that person. I started saying, let me see what this actually does. So when I started doing yoga and I started having more control over my body, more control over the muscles, when I started to realize that the knee pain and the back pain that I was experiencing was starting to go away, I said, maybe there's more to this. That's what led me to increasing the knowledge and becoming a personal trainer. I wanted to know more. I saw people doing functional fitness and body weight movements, and I said, oh, that's for people who, can't go to the gym or whatever. No. I found out through functional fitness movements, through body weight movements, you can understand your body more. Your body can adapt to certain situations so much better. I did that with meditation. I thought, I'm a high-powered, high-energy individual. I can't sit there for an hour or half hour, however long it is, sit still and focus on things. That's not going to do anything for me. That's time I could be spending doing something. Then I started doing meditation and visualization, and I realized I'm thinking more clearly. I'm more organized. The quality work I put in on my projects has increased exponentially. So again, approaching things with an open mind will allow you to achieve the full benefits. This is what led me to joining the Unbeatable Mind Academy. I heard Mark Divine talk about this several times. And one thing that always drew me into Mark was, here's this retired commander with the Navy SEALs, touted as one of these great world leaders. And you listen to him, and he's very calm, very reserved. And in the back of my head, I was like, wow, I would have thought someone in that position would be much more energetic, much more high-powered, somebody who really puts forth this energy that gets you up and moving. And it wasn't until I began the Unbeatable Mind Academy that I realized I get it. I get how being calm in the mind, how being open-minded, how trying new things, all of this stuff, breathing techniques, meditation, visualization, puts the body in a calming manner. And when the body is in a calming manner, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have energy. It means that you understand the energy your body has. You understand the power your mind has. You understand that things are more clear. And when things are more clear and you're stuck in a situation where you need that energy, where you need to make critical decisions, where you need to think quickly, you're able to do so. That's what an open mind leads to. Adding new techniques, learning, educating yourself, helping others. Anything that you want to try that's new, that you might fear. As they say, the acronym for fear is false evidence against reality. Oftentimes we're fearful of things that are most likely never going to happen. Just like with skydiving. Sure, bad things have happened before, but did you know you're actually more likely to get killed in a car accident than you are skydiving? Yet we drive everywhere. But a lot of people can't get past that initial fear. Once you push past that initial fear, and I think the best way to tackle that is keeping an open mind. Don't try something new and say, I'm going to hate this, I'm going to hate this. Try something new and say, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to enter it with no judgments, no opinions, and then I'll make my decision afterwards. If it's a new food, and after you tried it, you don't like it, well, harm happened. You just found out another food you didn't like. But I urge you to keep in mind that all your favorite foods, all your favorite hobbies, all the things in life that you find happiness and joy from, those were all new to you at first too. When you tried those, was it an excitement because you wanted to try those? Did you have an open mind thinking, hey, I'm going to try this, and then you uncovered your passions? Do that with your fears. Things you've been holding off for a while. Maybe things that you've been fearful how someone else is going to judge you. Who cares? You're the one doing it. They're not. So again, I urge you, try something new. Try something you fear. Keep a complete and open mind. Your opinions and judgments away. Let the event occur. And you never know when you just may find a new passion. You never know what that new passion may lead to. And you might just be fortunate enough that that passion leads to your purpose in life. It's how it started with me. I got an open mind. I began trying new things. The more new things I tried, I certainly find things I didn't like, but I kept finding more things that I enjoyed. I didn't like reading. Now I love reading. I didn't like running, but I ran a marathon. I told myself after a marathon I was done. And during that marathon, something clicked with me. And guess what? I'm not done. I'm doing an ultra marathon at the end of this year. To say that a future 100-mile race is out of the question, that is a statement I couldn't say to be true. It's certainly possible. I'm keeping an open mind, keeping judgments and opinions out of the way, and going to do whatever I can from this day to the rest of my life to push my human limits, to educate myself, to increase the power of the body, the mind, and the spirit, to uncover the hidden potential that lays deep inside, and to try and help each and every soul that I come across unlock that hidden potential as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day. Have a beautiful week ahead of you. And as always, you know it wouldn't be me if I don't leave off with a Bible verse applicable to today's lesson. And today's verse we're bringing you is Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Remove your judgments and doubts, people. Remove any preconceived notions you may have about other people, events, and things. If it's something you want to try, do it. Do it with an open mind and give it everything you have. I wish you all many blessings on the week ahead and cannot wait to talk to you again.